And I can cut
I'm
over.
looking forward to that.
Okay. And then I'll move the screen away and then I'll make copies of the handout.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know.
And should I be advancing on this? Like
Yeah.
with the arrows?
Yeah, if you just want to do that. Oh, let's start over from the beginning. And then if you just want to real quick, just introduce yourself. You don't have to go through as much as you did.
Sure.
So there we are, and then there's the slide that they'll see.
Okay. And then what's the, okay, yeah, just down goes next. All right. Okay, I think we're ready, folks. We'll take two, right? So I'm Ernest. I'm the home mod specialist here at Empower. And some of the projects we do here that we focus on are ramps, grab bars, walker steps, and handrails. This presentation kind of expands over that. We're not going to talk about any of those things. We're going to talk about some ways to save money around the household. And so that's kind of what I'm going to focus on here. I've got four big categories of things to go over. The first one's kind of energy efficiency, saving power, heat and cold, water, because that's a big problem, lighting and electrical, and then maintenance. So those are the four big categories that we have. As far as heating and cooling, what we're looking there is it's mainly airflow. We're looking to stop airflow out of areas where we're wanting to keep the temperature and then prevent air from coming in from the outside. Some of the things we could do to accomplish this are like things like door sweeps. A door sweep is you just screw it onto the bottom of your door, or sometimes they make them as a little rubber gasket that kind of goes around, and it's going to keep the air from coming in up under your door or screen door when you open and shut it. What happens is doors, they shrink and expand over time. And so if you've got a door that's 5, 6, 7 years old and it kind of shrinks in the place, you don't necessarily want to replace the whole door. That's super expensive. And so a door sweep is a good way of putting that on there. Okay. We're gonna pause for a noise consideration for just a moment. Oh my goodness. All right. The second thing is weather stripping. And so that's a seal around the door. They sell those a couple different ways. Sometimes they're cloth with like a sticky backing. Other times they'll be foam. Sometimes you staple them in with like a little light staple. Sometimes they have little flat tacks that you put them in. And then of course sometimes they stick. That's another way. It's going to prevent when that door, after it's changed size over the years, that's a way to keep the air when you open and shut it, that just makes a little barrier there to get the air from going out. It has here listed the window film and the thermal curtains. I call those window and door treatments. You put a little strip of sticky around the outside of the trim, and then you put the plastic around it. And then a lot of times they have them where it's a shrink film, and you put like the hair dryer on there, and spray it, and it'll shrink up and make like uh, a nice little seal there, and keep your windows from drafting, especially in the winter when it's really cold and the wind's blowing really hard. Another way is that you can do around the house. This one's a little more expensive than some of the others, but the programmable thermostats. I use one of those at my house. They work really well. One of the things I do is like during the winter, heating's a big expense. And so at about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, my heater kicks off and goes down to like 60 degrees. And then we sleep throughout the night. And then it kicks back to 68 or 70 degrees at 5 a.m., about an hour or two before we're getting up and getting roused. And then it kicks off again at 8 o'clock in the morning and then doesn't turn back on till 3 p.m. And so by not keeping the heat in the house at a maximum temperature for those 12 to 15 hours, I'm saving a little money on my gas bill. The same thing goes for air conditioning in the summertime. If you've always got that air cranked down to 62 degrees, well, that's not going to work for you very well when it gets to be 90 degrees outside. Thing most people don't know about air conditioners is the maximum temperature change you're going to get out of that is about 18 to 20 degrees. That's the absolute maximum if you have a brand new top of the line unit. If you're getting 14 or 15 degrees change, that's good, right? That's good enough. That's considered working. Well, if it's 90 degrees outside, 14 degrees of change is only going to get you down to 75. You're never going to, like, if you got your thermostat set at 60, it's just going to run forever and wear out your parts. And that's not gonna be good for you. Um, Outlet and switch gasket covers, especially in older houses. Those boxes, the insides of the walls and stuff are really exposed to the basement or the attic. And so by putting those little gaskets in, you're kind of preventing that outside air from just coming in, especially if it's on a garage or an exterior wall. Um, yeah, so nowadays they have the little infrared thermostats that you can point at things. They can use them to detect drafts. CU, you might look into this program, but CU for a long time had a program where they would come by and check and see if your house was energy efficient. And if it wasn't, you could qualify for like some insulation in your attic or some other little improvements to help make it so. Um, the second little part of this is we're going to talk a little bit about water savings. Just like power, water is a utility that everybody uses and we pay for. And so if we can lower that cost, just even a drip or two, it can save us some money there. There we go. Um, the first thing is like low flow shower heads, toilets, and then faucet aerators. The low flow toilet used to be that toilets flushed about 2.5 gallons every flush. Well, that's not the standard anymore. Now a standard toilet's like 1.5 gallons, and low flow toilets a lot of times will have 3/4 of a gallon. They have some newer type low flows, the toilets anyway, where they have two buttons, and one's a half flush for your yellow, and then the other's a full flush for your brown. So you can actually save money every time you flush and still continue to flush, um, for every usage. Um, they have here listed the toilet tank displacement bags or bottles. You can do that. I mean, that's an old timer's trick. You put the brick in the back of the toilet to save yourself a little water. And if you don't have a problem, like if it flows enough, then that's good. I know some people have tried that and then they're like, oh, well, my toilet never flushes now. And it's like, well, yeah, because it's designed to have a certain amount of water flush into it. And so it doesn't work if you prevent the mechanism from working. So that might have a little bit of varied results. Pipe insulation, especially if you've got pipes like underneath in a basement or in a crawl space that are exposed, pipe insulation coming from your hot water heater out. If you've got a hot water heater, and many of you do, and you probably know this, you have to turn the hot water heater on and let it run for like 2 minutes before you get hot water to the bathroom or to the kitchen, depending on how far it is from it. Those little insulators, I mean, they're gonna save you a little bit because you're not going to be heating up ice cold pipes every single time. Another one that they didn't mention that I kind of will, and this is just a case by case, is you can get the inline water heaters now. They're available. You can get a little electric or gas ones. And so you're not heating up a tank of water every time. Some of them have like a 1 to 4 gallon tank that they still hold like a little reservoir, but you're actually just heating it up like right at the point of use. So they're the little yeah, I can't even remember what they're called, but they're like the instant heater, the inline water heaters, so fixing small leaks. This is actually a big one. You've got your little leak that you just put the pan under the sink or whatever and try to catch. And that is really gonna cost you over a long term. especially like lots of people's have toilet leaks that aren't really leaks in the traditional sense, but the flapper isn't seating correctly. And so it sits there and drains and then it auto flushes like every 20 minutes or so. I mean, if you think about that, if it's auto flushing every 20 minutes, well, it's a gallon and a half per flush. I mean, you're talking 2 or 300 gallons a month there, just right down the out the window, sure. So the just little things like that can really help out. Um, the third thing we have are like lighting and electrical. And so these are some of the newer things that we have. LED bulbs. So LED bulbs are a huge cost savings. Even in the center, we went around and I mean, for a year and a half, we've tried to change out these fluorescents, which are actually energy saving. You know, fluorescents don't take a lot of power, but the LEDs save so much power over the traditional incandescents. It's not even close. I think it says, yeah, 70 to 90% more efficient. Smart plugs and timers. We used to do this on vacation. You know, people were worried about their stuff getting robbed, so they put all their TV and their lights and stuff on timers all the time. And you don't have to go to that extreme, but you know, it's a good idea to have some things on timers that automatically turn off because your electronics being plugged in, I mean, that costs you a lot of power. Even if you think it's convenient for that microwave to always have the clock on, but it's going to sit there and draw power continuously. You know, that's as long as it's plugged in. So that leads into this next one, the power strips with the surge protection. And so, you know, if you have a TV and you're on a power strip, if you turn your TV off, it still draws power. But if you have a power strip and you have a surge protector and you cut that power off, then all your accessories, all your TVs, your computers and stuff, they're not going to draw power in like their standby mode. And that can be a pretty significant savings. Um, Oh, light colored paint or reflective shades. So this kind of segs into also using different color light. You need to combine this with kind of the light you need in a kitchen or whatever. But yeah, if you have different colors paint, then you need different colors of light to light up the room. You might need yellow light or blue light depending on like what paint style. And if you have a vision impairment, you know, it can be even more intense. You might need some more focused lighting in those cases. Um, okay. The last little category we have here is maintenance and comfort. And so these are money saving tips that are more like for long term. The first thing we had was caulking around like tubs, sinks, and windows. And so, yeah, your tubs, there's lots of water drawing, especially like the line when you have your tub. There's a where your flooring intersects your tub. I mean, that's a really traditional place where that'll catch water and leak, and it'll sit there. And what'll happen is it'll rot out that subfloor underneath that tub. And then pretty soon you're like, oh, why is my tub leaning in? Why is this subfloor in the bathroom kind of got a low spot here? And it's because you know, we're not sealing it from the water around it. If you have tile or vinyl flooring, I mean, that's the same thing. They sell really inexpensive sealers for those things, water sealers that you can put on those. And that'll even work on like the little VCT tile or the stick down tiles that people will use to kind of repair their bathroom floors. You know, you can put a floor sealer on top of that and protect that just like you would a regular tile. It's not much difference. Um, Cleaning the refrigerator coils. This is a really good one, especially like your HVAC coils too. You know, one of the first things, if you get your HVAC maintenance, one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to take a hose and they're going to try to clean all the dust off the coils. And in your refrigerator, that's the same thing. If a lot of people's refrigerators, they're inefficient, they're really loud, it's running all the time, you can take the back panel off your refrigerator, and if it's got an inch and a half of dust on everything, I bet if you just clean that off, it'll help you out a whole lot. I mean, I've seen that a lot. It's really easy to clean up behind those things. Your AC units the same way. If you have a window AC unit, it behooves you before you plug that in for the season, before you even plug it in, is run the hose over that thing, clean all the gunk and the dirt and the stuff out from that and from in between those coils, because for those fins to work properly, air needs to be able to pass through them. If there's a big layer of dust on everything, air is not going to be able to pass through them. Refrigerators are the same way. They're already kind of stuck in a corner in your house and there's not much circulation. And that it's really important for them to be able to circulate heat because it's a heat pump. So, yeah, replacing the HVAC filters regularly. Every 3 months. You're supposed to replace the filter in your house every 3 months. I don't know anybody that does it. Nobody. Well, that's good for you because you're the only person. I replace it when I notice it. It happens every 6 months or so. But you're supposed to replace that every 3 months. And be sure you put it in there the right way. There'll be an arrow showing that the air direction, because if you've got this big biofilter or whatever and it's in there the wrong way, it's not really going to be protecting you. It's not going to be pulling the dust out of that thing. And it's really important to change them, because what you're doing is you don't want dust getting on the inside of those systems. You want to keep those clean. It's just like the air filter in your car. Older cars, newer cars are a little bit more forgiving, but older cars, if you didn't clean out your air filter, well, that connects to the carburetor and the carburetor connects to the inside of the engine. So whatever you weren't cleaning out of the air filter was going right in your motor. And so it's the same with these things. It's not getting past the heat exchanger, of course, because it's a different system, but you're for sure, putting a bunch of dirt and dust and buildup and gunk that you really don't need to be putting in your system. Door stoppers, felt pads, and glides. Oh my goodness, our flooring. Everybody hates. I've got these really nice hardwood floors. I wish the people that had lived there before me had taken better care of them. And yeah, so we went, and when we got our house, we put in rugs. We went and bought a bunch of cheap rugs and put cheap rugs on everything. And so, yeah, we got these beautiful hardwood floors underneath them, but they're kind of scratched up, and I want to preserve them as long as I can, and that's a good way, because that's how you save money, is by not spending money. I mean, that's you can't break your stuff, and then expect to have a good go of it. Felt pads and glides. That's mainly for moving. It depends on, I don't know how often you need to have felt pads and glides under all your furniture, but for sure it's going to protect you when you're moving. Pests. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you think pests aren't a problem until you get termites, and then you need your foundation lifted and a bunch of boards replaced. Yeah, pests are a big problem. Spiders, you can get spider infestations, you can get ants, you can get all sorts of things. And what you'll notice is, I mean, everybody gets a few ants in the spring. I think that's a pretty regular deal. But if you keep a bunch of food in your kitchen or whatever else, then they're just going to keep coming back and coming back. And so the getting the pests out of the house, I mean, not to even mention roaches. Roaches are a big problem for everybody. And so if you can keep your stuff just as clean as possible, if they don't have anything to eat, if they don't have anywhere to go, they won't be able to do those sorts of things. And then we have down here, it's like the small routine tasks include fewer emergency repairs. And that kind of applies to all the things. Like if you fix your leaky faucet, then it's not going to freeze up and burst on you. You're not going to have a problem with that. You really have to maintenance and kind of take care of your things. That's the best way. And don't be afraid to reach out, ask for advice is pretty free. All the stuff we have on here, you might be able to find a tradesman to do it or not, for a fee, but most of them are going to at least tell you kind of what you need or what their suggestions or recommendations are. Some of the other things is I'm kind of thinking of as I'm going back through this, is like when you put in like window units for air conditioners, put some insulation around the outside. They all have that cheap little plastic fin that they've kind of included now. I would suspect that there's little to no R value to that. And so you might behoove you to go ahead and like insulate around that whole unit, when you put a window unit in. I think you've seen the old trick, like in the summertime, especially, people would put like a foil on their windows, to reflect all the heat that you can. And you might not need that at your house, but if you sleep during the day or something like that, it could be that could be a good way to help yourself out.
We pull out our dryer to clean that.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a good, yeah, of course, because you don't want to, that's a good way to catch a fire is to clean out the dryer vent. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So she was saying that they at their house they clean out the dryer vent. And that's an other excellent piece of advice because that there's a lot of lint buildup in there. It could be a cause of a fire. And of course, just like with all these other mechanisms, you want to clean all that out. That way that buildup isn't just sitting in there in the machines, in the parts, messing with all that. The tubing off the back.
Yeah, that hose off the back of it.
Yeah, for the dryer. Yeah, sure. Yeah, to clean out the dryer vent.
I cleaned out my drain plug on my washer. I thought it was broken, and I finally realized maybe I should fix that.
Your dishwasher?
This washer.
Oh, okay. Washing machine. Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like gunk was stopped up in there.
So Shelby mentioned the drain plug on her washing machine, and that's a lot of things building up in there. Yeah, I didn't even know about a drain. I don't know that my washing machine has a drain plug, but I'm sure some do.
It's a front loader, so I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. Okay.
It gets fabric softener and lint and animal hair in there sometimes, and it's a very small tube.
There can be a lot of buildup in those front loading washers.
Flows, I think, into the water circulation. I think your clothes will be a little cleaner. I've done that a few times too.
Yeah,
Just make sure you plug it back up real tight.
yeah. Yeah, it literally wasn't working and I was gonna call someone to come look at it. And then when I realized I could do that and check it, it works like new now.
I was told to also wipe the seals on those front loaders
Hmm.
because they'll get a mildew or mold to them.
Sure,
I
right.
leave my door open.
I do too, but I
Mhm.
don't have children.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they were talking about mildew building up a little bit on the washers, and leaving the door open to prevent. And I know that's what we do. We have a top loading washer, but the water sits, it's a newer one with the tumble tub, and so water sits down there, and they say to leave that door open too, so that it can, air out or air dry. So that's about all I had formally. You guys, we were kind of shooting the breeze here, but did anybody have any questions for me? And did we have anybody on Zoom with questions or nobody on Zoom? Okay.
I just uploaded or downloaded the new city utilities app on my phone. They had an older one, so there was like an update. And you can go in and check your usage of electricity and water.
Sure.
You may not know you have a leak
Until you look.
I
Yeah.
always know my bill fluctuates, and I started going in to look to see what was higher. It's always gonna be higher maybe with like my air in the summer with electric and my gas with gas or my heater with gas in the winter. But I'm starting to actually monitor and then they have like a chart that shows you. So if the water's up this year from last year, like have we been taking more showers and trying to think, and then I may have a leak I don't know about if.
Sure.
So using that.
Yeah, as a guide to know. Sure, right.
The paper bill might show it, but this is different because it's like color coded and it seems like there's a lot more detail.
Easier to parse the information there.
Yeah.
Right, sure.
Actually, you just started.
Oh, because you're not in Springfield.
Right, we're in
Mhm.
Seymour, and they
Okay.
just started. They finally, the state made them put in electric meters, digital meters. The state made them go, because they were overcharging. And they were inconsistent and they weren't listening to people when they were saying their meters were bad like ours. State came in, forced them. And now we can go online and actually read and compare. And it took, what was it, $100 off our light bill? That's how much they were overcharging us. It was, wish they'd done that years ago. But it took us filling a petition and fighting City Hall.
Well, and I also feel like it kind of helps me see how much my son and I are using.
Sure.
And to show him, because he's 14 and someday he'll have a utility bill. And it seems like people complain a lot about the utility bill, but are you actually looking to see how much you use?
Yeah, Because you have the control over it,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, not like an army shower, because I guess that's where you don't have the water running the whole time. You use the
Mhm.
soap and then you just.
Well, yeah, because you do it on the buddy system. You're soaping up while he's showering and then you switch.
Go that far, but yeah.
That's what an army shower is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like we had to boil water
Sure.
for that short time in Springfield. I don't know if Seymour had that,
Oh,
but.
we have that all the time.
Boil
Okay.
orders. Mhm.
We got the state, that's one of the reasons the state came in, is because we were having water issues too. And they've got now a certain length of time to build a new treatment facility. Because our water was being really bad.
Hmm.
And it was to the point where our grocery store could drop a case of water like that on the floor. And in 30 minutes, that case of water had been gone. Because everybody in town knew better than to drink the water. You used it for everything but drinking, and it was gone. And the state came in and said, you need to clean this up. So they have to redo that. They had, the sewer plant has to be rebuilt because it was leaking out into the road. The water was bad, so they're redoing it. They redid the whole inside of the tower, and now they're redoing it, all the water treatment things. And we're getting a whole new facility, and then they got in trouble for their lights. So we're finally getting digital meters for our lights and water, which we never had before, which gives us a better, like you said, I can go online now and actually measure out where the bills are gonna come. Never had that before, but it took the state coming in. And literally our town's at the verge of being fined by the state. They've got so long to finish it. They've finally gotten all the money up together to do that. And they're trying to beat the time. I think they've got, what, 2 years left?
Well, and I know too, real quick, I don't really have a fund for repairs, but I did replace the 2 front windows at my house and it made a huge difference.
Oh, sure, right.
I did not know how much air
Mhm.
was coming through those things.
Yeah, and that's where a window treatment, like if you couldn't afford the $400 or $800 or whatever it costs, because it can be ungodly to replace window. You can put a window treatment in. Yeah, caulk, sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, glaze. Yeah. Window glaze. Yeah, sure. 100%. Did you have a question?
Did have a question. You had mentioned the weather stripping around the door sweeps.
Yeah.
I have an old wooden door.
Sure.
Huge wooden door,
Mm-hmm.
and it does swell right now. I can hardly get it to shut where I can lock it.
Right.
In a month, I'm gonna see daylight around it, so I
Mhm.
shove stuff in that through the winter, but is it also, I have a metal aluminum screen door
Sure.
on the outside to keep the storm window closed on that in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's ideal to do both of those doors at the suite.
They make door sweeps for both, and they're a little bit different. Generally, the ones for the screens, they'll be like a little metal square, and they'll be like a rubber thing, and you hold it up and kind of screw it where you might have to move it a little bit, but you go and screw it. And then for the wooden doors, a lot, like especially them old ones, a lot of times it'll sit actually on the inside of the door, and you'll screw it in along the bottom, and there'll be a skirt or something that hangs down and kind of just barely brushes your floor. And it can move and kind of twist under there where the door can't. And so the older styles, they were actually, it was almost like a broom. They would use like lots and lots of bristles or whatever. But newer ones will be like a piece of cloth or maybe a piece of rubber or something down
I had
there.
a metal threshold that had a piece of rubber that slid
They
in,
kind of slid in,
but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's off.
Sure, that will, yeah.
I don't think it's the same size at the hardware store now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the last time I looked for that, they didn't. I guess it'd have to be a custom order.
Another one that I've seen people do is they've taken like 2 socks and stuffed them with polyfill and then stitch them in the middle, and then they just roll that. They stuff that under the door, and they sell them too. They're like the little things you kind of sell. Well, they'll have some that go under the door too, but I mean, if you've got something that goes under the door right there, you should probably just use a regular sweep. I don't know, but yeah.
Since the door swells,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I've tried to do things like one of the hinge pins is jammed.
Sure.
So I can't take it off the hinge,
Okay.
but I've tried to put wax on there.
On the
so
top.
It doesn't stick.
Sure.
Or absorb moisture.
I mean, you could take a little sandpaper and like sand it, like if you get the door in the open position and do you know where it sticks, where it hits?
Sort of, but see, right now it's swelling and sticking,
Sure.
but in May
Mm-hmm.
or in dead of winter, I'm sorry, it's gonna be daylight. I can actually see.
I've got a side door that does the same
Where
thing.
you just have to take it off.
Well, mine's with rain. And so whenever it rains, it sticks and it's just ungodly and gets moisture and just swells up. But then after it dries out, it runs slicker than anything. But yeah, what I did is I took my door off and then I took a belt sander and I could see where it was rubbing and I just sanded the door down where it was rubbing. Oh, it's probably either in my office or yeah, I'm sure. Do you need the key? Do you want the
You
key?
have to plane the basement door because the house.
My door,
We actually had to plane off.
yeah, my back door was doing that too, and it just goes away eventually, but.
Yeah.
It's hard to walk.
And I've heard that if you can seal it, especially painting on the bottom side,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's not able to gather the moisture.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Sure. Yeah, to see it.
You-
Oh, to see. Yeah, sure.
because
That's
it
a good
kinda
idea.
Feels, and then it also,
Mm,
if
makes
it's the jam,
Mhm.
it still moves a little better, I guess.
right. Sure.
But
Um,
I've tried
if
a
you
couple
can't-
weather strippings, but then by the time it swells again, then I really can't even.
You have to take them back off. Yeah, I've experienced that before too. Yeah, you put the weather stripping on and then in a different season, you're like, this door is stuck. Oh, it's here. It's the weather stripping. Look at this.
Kind of like a wooden frame that the door shuts up against.
Mm-hmm. They also have another kind of weather stripping that kind of goes around the outside and just pins to the outside. And but it's a little different. Did you find it?
Right now, I'm folding up newspapers.
And
Just
stuffing
sheets of newspaper. And at night, after I shut the door, because in the winter I don't go out in the evenings usually.
Sure.
I'll just shut the door, lock it, and shove that stuff in there,
So
and
this-
it makes a huge difference.
Right. Yeah.
But I know I have a lot of energy loss there. But you're gonna look at the door. See if I can get that sealed up even a little later as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even like a blanket or a drape, if you can drape it, I mean, that would help too. Like if it's a really bad.
I've seen online up in New England, they actually put a curtain rod
Mm-hmm. In
up
front of
over
their.
their big old historic doors.
Sure.
And then they just drape them back,
Mm-hmm.
just like they would a window. and
Yeah.
they said that
It works pretty well. I mean, I've done it in the winter. We had an ice storm one time and I had a little bitty kerosene heater, but it could only heat about 2 rooms. So, we'd put the blanket in the kitchen and like, the kitchen, if we're cooking in there, the oven will keep you warm, I guess. But, yeah, so.
Use your oven to warm your house.
No, we use well, you're not supposed to use a kerosene heater either, but it was just too cold. I was like, well, we'll open this window here, see, and pray for the best. We made it, so
Well, thank you to Ernest. He's a really busy person. I'm gonna give you the survey, and if you like this kind of topic, definitely write that down, because I think we could develop this even more and maybe show some products or take it a step further.
yeah, we didn't invest a ton of time in this.
Well, I think these are really good tips to have, and
And Ernest, he really does change that filter every 3 months.
No, I don't. It's
every 6 months,
if I'm lucky.
here's the sign-in sheet, and then if you guys will fill these out. So this is our last topic.
Yeah,
And we'll have this repeated at the end of October. And then we will definitely work on seeing the attendance. I know you've been to several too, so our whole idea was to have a